Hi, I'm Anna, and today I want to share my college admissions story with you. I'm a college admissions consultant, and recently I've been seeing a lot of my students get really anxious about the college application process and in general, this next big stage in life that is college, right? So hopefully this will help reduce some of your anxiety because my journey or story is not perfect, it's real. That's why I want to share it with you. So let's start by talking about academics first. I attended a small public high school. Literally, there were 58 kids in my graduating class, which is probably why it was a little easier to become valedictorian. I took all the hardest classes I could, which included some APs because there wasn't a ton that was offered at the time. And my SAT score was super scored was a 1340, and I understand that that might not be super competitive now. Back then, it was the best I could do, especially because when the first time I took my SATs, it was like literally 2 days after my boyfriend and I had broken up. By the way, if you want to ruin someone's SAT score, go ahead and break up with them. Kidding, don't do that. A few days before they have to take the test. And so needless to say, I did not get much sleep before my SAT test, and I bombed it. Did an 1100-ish, which was not what my practice tests were tracking to at the time. But I did take it again, and thankfully my math score went up 200 points a few months later. So beyond that, extracurricularly, I played tennis. I had also tried track and field and basketball, just didn't work out, didn't love it. At the time, I really thought everybody's saying you need to play a sport to get into college. Now, as a college admissions consultant, I can tell you, no, you don't have to play a sport to get into college. But I did at the time. I did really enjoy tennis. I played varsity doubles, and which was pretty darn good considering I had never played tennis before high school and had just literally picked it up then. Outside of that, I also did community service, which was really important to me. I helped tutor a student that had learning differences every week after school. I also loved anything visual arts or performing arts related. That was my jam. And so I had been studying art, I think, for up to 10 years at that point. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, come try out for the fall play with us. And that's kind of how I got involved in drama club, really enjoyed it. So I did musicals and drama club, and it was a lot of fun. But I think those two pieces were probably not as common for Asian applicant profiles at the time because most parents want their kid to not be a starving artist and don't try to encourage activities like that. But my parents were so busy working as first generation Americans that they didn't get a chance to really control that much of our profile. So definitely no helicopter parents. So speaking of parents, my parents didn't go to college. They didn't even attend high school. It wasn't an option for them. And so I was the first person to attend college in my family. And realistically speaking, as a college admissions consultant now, I was probably considered an institutional priority at the time. And so that probably helped as well. Outside of that, I worked a job, or two jobs actually. So I was responsible for covering all of my expenses. That meant working after school and on the weekends as a server, but it was a really good thing for me because I'm an INFJ, if you follow Myers-Briggs, and I was so painfully shy and socially anxious. And when you work as a server, you have to put yourself out there and talk with people because that's what determines what your tip is going to look like, right? How much money you're going to get. And through that, I think I learned a lot of great life lessons. I learned how to handle different situations, and I learned to have a lot of empathy and compassion as well through serving because you meet all kinds of people in all different types of situations. The other thing I think that was more of, like, I didn't have a ton of awards, but one of the ones I did get was I placed second in the state for a speech competition. I didn't even sign up for the speech competition in the beginning. My social studies teacher had everyone write a speech and then give a speech. And then the people who were judging happened to be there. And that's how I got involved in this speech competition. But up until that point, I'd never done public speaking before. And the people helped coach me to advance onto regionals and then states. So it was really intimidating when I got to the state level because everybody I met was like forensics. And the only forensic that I had heard of up to that point was like CSI forensic science, right? And so it was really interesting for me to, again, enter a world that I had never been exposed to, but so grateful for the opportunity. And so I think those were big pieces of my profile. At the same time, because I loved art, I also enjoyed creative writing a lot. I decided to create a website to have my art and my writing and to share that with the world. The internet was relatively new at the time. We still had dial-up. I had learned how to code in HTML, not knowing what coding was at the time, just because I was so curious. How do people make websites? How do I create one? How do I share my stuff with other people? And so when it came time to apply for college, I shared my website link with them. And so that I think was also a bit new and unexpected as well. Originally, I wanted to apply to study bioengineering, but then I watched a movie called Gattaca and then I rethought that because I was like, I don't know. I want to help people, but it's a slippery slope in terms of having control over certain things. And so then I also realized I didn't necessarily want to work in a lab all day, so that didn't make sense. And so I was like, maybe I'll study communications or marketing. Ended up studying marketing. So where I applied to college, I applied to 6 schools. They did have the Common App back then, but it was on paper. You would just make photocopies of it and send it to all your schools. I applied to my local public school. I also applied to UVA on a whim. I did not get in as an out-of-state public, and I can understand now as a college admissions consultant, definitely didn't have the SAT scores for them. So I got into Rutgers, which was my public school, and then I applied to Emerson College because I thought I was going to study communications. I got into the honors program there, which I was really grateful for because it also came with merit money. And then I applied and got into NYU and Georgetown, which is where I ultimately attended. I also applied to Duke, totally missed the admissions interview email, did not know that was a thing, apologized profusely, but totally understood why I didn't make it further in the Duke process, right? And when I became a college admissions interviewer for Georgetown, I was very empathetic because I understand you're all just teenagers, right? We're all still trying to figure out life at this point, right? It was an honest mistake. Those were the schools I ended up applying to. I'm really glad I ended up attending Georgetown. Georgetown was like my last minute application because my brother was like, hey, I think you'd really like it there. And I think it ended up being a great fit because it was very purposeful education, in my opinion. They also believe in being men and women for others. That is their value, and I believe that as well. I also believe in educating the whole person. And so I think that worked really well. My personal essay ended up being about how I first learned how to read by reading the names of different cars on walks to the grocery store with my babysitter growing up. And so I think you learn a little bit more about me and like that I'm just really persistent because my brother was like a smart one in our family. He had a photographic memory, to be fair, and I didn't. I was just average. But I worked really hard. So when we were in the same AP history class, it took him a half hour to do an assignment. It would take me 2 hours. But I think as long as you continue to put forth effort, then that's what will still win at the end of the day, right? You can still do really well if you put in proper effort and time. And so I think it's a combination of these different factors that went into it. I think I also had really great letters of recommendation because I had a really good relationship with all of my teachers, probably because, again, I went to a small public school, so the teachers really got to know us. But I would also make the effort to like stay after class to talk with them about things, and I was really active in the community. So I think it's a combination of these things that made the colleges that accepted me interested in my profile. But as you can tell from this video, I was not a perfect applicant. Not the perfect SAT score, botched some things along the way, but it's human. And I think you should apply to and attend schools that want you for you as well. So hopefully this helps reduce anxiety for your college admissions process. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. I would be more than happy to answer them.